Location and time unknown. Plain song. A pony walked through a winter wonderland as white powdery snow blew into the drifts, carried by the light breeze. Its pony looked oddly at the snow, then at the summer sun above, then back at the snow that hadn't melted in the past few days. It had been here since the airship dropped her off at the edge of this miles-long winter wonderland. It didn't look like it was going away anytime soon. One thing she knew, though, was that it was black magic, terrible and pure on scales he hadn't seen before. This had been how things had gone in the past few days since they all returned from Siberia, when Luna met them to give Raspberry Bell an assignment as the Archmates of Equestria for the Dark Arts. A century of the Guard had been put at her disposal, as well as two of the most reliable mages that were available for a mission. And so now, she was put in charge of investigating a quandary that had so far confused her. As she had climbed a fallen spar of ice, she looked to her side at something hidden under her weather saddle and packs. Her side glowed with dark energy as something clicked, and suddenly a haunting guitar droned into the background, along with other musical instruments as the voice suddenly sang along. I think it's dark and it looks like rain, you said. The wind blowing at the end of the world, you said. And it's so cold, it's like the cold if you were dead. And you smiled for a second. Raspberry felt a tap on her withers, and then turned to see a guard's pony speaking to her silently. Then, as she couldn't hear more of the sound of the playing singer. Oh, sorry, Raspberry said, popping her headphones and using her magic to hit a button on the white device.
What is that?
The guard's pony asked. Oh, it's called an MP3 player or something like that. Unicorn said. It's a gift from a friend and it plays music. Right now, I'm listening to some songs by a band called The Cure, and it's kind of nice in an eclectic way.
That plays music?
She nodded. I'd tell you more, but it's classified. All I could say that it's a gift from one of Princess Celestia's top spies abroad. As the truth about Sunset was still not widespread, and the townsfolk of Ponyville sworn to their usual secrecy, not they likely to tell any pony anyway, the unicorn's brief return had been buried until the Solar Alicorn could come up with a better way to reintroduce her surrogate daughter back to ponykind.
I see,
the guard's pony said in a way that indicated he absolutely did not.
Anyway, Archmages, I was ordered to let you know that we finally broke through the ice barrier and found rolling hills. Well, what's left of it anyway.
Raspberry went around the snowy hilltops, so beautiful and yet so unnatural right now. Were there any survivors? The mulberry unicorn asked. The guard shook his head.
I see.
Well, I'm duty-bound to investigate. Let's go, she commented, following him down a freshly dug path, walking past the massive walls of ice that had been melted through by unicorn guard magic. Looking down towards the ruins of the town of Rolling Hills, nestled in a small vale not far from her hometown of Lonesome Dove. Hell of a way to come back home again, she sighed, commenting to herself. Hours later, an exhausted Raspberry wandered to the saloon back in Lonesome Dove. She was followed by a EUP lieutenant wearing Solar Guard Division armor. A burly earth stallion by the name of Sarsaparilla Mug looked at her and waved, his hand on her mustache wobbly as he spoke. Oil, Ross! Hold things go! Could be much better, truth be told, she admitted. We've given up any chance of finding further survivors who have moved on to Dentican aftercare, she said, using a distasteful polite term. I know it's a little late, but is Darren still available? Oh, absolutely, Sarsaparilla went on. Anything in particular? Just whatever Sal's special, and one for my lieutenant as well. The mulberry pony insisted, nodding her head to indicate the other pony present. You got it. 2 house specials coming up. Raspberry sighed in contentment as he sat down at one of the tables, taking the time to remove her pack, saddle, and cloak. Oh, so that's what feeling is like, she joked. Almost forgot. The other pony, an enormous Pegasus mare with violet amber fur, a 3-shade blue mane and yellow eyes, sighed. It can be quite trying, Your Grace, she answered. You don't have to do that, Indy, Raspberry told her. You've known me since we were foals, you know. Lieutenant Indigo Zap looked at her commander with an even look. We were never friends, Your Grace, Indigo stated. In fact, I was one of the school fillies who taunted you the most, as I recall. That's in the past, Raspberry insisted. Why are into the prince and all that? So please, drop the formality. I cannot, your grace, Indigo and continued. I'm on to... She quickly stopped as Raspberry levitated her helmet off her head. No, you're not. And as I was saying, we're adults now. I became who I am, and you went on to the Guard Academy and became a highly decorated officer. We're not the foes we were and never will be, so we can change. But can you forgive me? Already did. The unicorn said with a smile as another pony approached. And here's another pony I'd like to talk to. I haven't had a chance to thank you for letting my troops set up shop in the town square, Sadie. Sadie Tourmain nodded. At the moment, the old Earth Pony mayor was with the Captain Javelin of the Lonesome Dove Town Guard. He went to her.
No problem, Lois. After the refugees from Rolling Hills started to come in, we used to make sure to clear the square to make room for the guards that we knew were coming to investigate. I'm just glad I wasn't wrong.
Javelin nodded. Her short mane bobbling time with her nod. My troops are at your disposal at last. In fact, the few survivors from the Rolling Hills Town Guard now report to me, so I've effectively doubled my forces. Are we up against anything like what happened the last time you were here? Well, my lieutenant was about to give me a report, so you're more than welcome to listen, Indy, if you please. Well, look who made lieutenant, Javelin said with a laugh. Seems like you just made Density yesterday. You know her, Javelin? Oh, yeah. Indy is my kid's sister, the muscular Earth Mare replied. Indigo shrugged. Hey, sis. That's Captain now, Lieutenant, Javelin said, and Indy flushed with embarrassment. Just kidding, little sis. Seriously, though, why don't you tell us what you found? Sir, Indigo said, relaxing again. This morning, the Archmagus and I arrived at the Rolling Hills site, where the advance crew finally managed to break through all that ice and uncover the place. The town was frozen over by a massive glacier, the kind that you usually find in the Empire. Anyway, it was magically created. It looked like if it wasn't about to disappear anytime soon. We went in and found that most of the buildings there had been either crushed by ice or received extensive fire damage. A few of them were still even burning, despite the fire, cold, and the ice. Magical fire, obviously. Indigo stuck her head and added, there were no survivors. That's where you're wrong. Indigo looked up at Javelin, a smile came across her muzzle. About half the town managed to make it out alive, thankfully. We have refugee tents set up at Class Ruby Park for all of them. So he then looked at Raspberry, adding, good thing you asked us to build it into a park and not a summer mansion. We really needed that space after all. Raspberry perked at the words. There were survivors? Sadie nodded.
Why I'm here. Wanted to know if you wanted to meet with their leader, the town's vice mayor. Having a meeting with her tomorrow. If you have time, I'd love to have you there.
That'd be great, Raspberry replied. I also recommend having the other two mages accompany us to join in as well, Indigo suggested. As it is, they followed here to continue their part of the investigation. I've detailed Sergeant Caesar and his squad to keep an eye on. What about your courier? Raspberry asked. Indigo laughed. Your precious little cargoes will arrive safe and sound, Raz. Per the last word from the garrison, Sergeant Lemon Zest departed this morning. She's one of my best flyers and not easy to take down. She even has a little Wonderbolt training, though she didn't make the cut for other reasons. A few seconds later, Sarsaparilla came out with a tray with 2 huge bowls of corn chow rested. Guess the party will be wanted the special, he asked. Couldn't hurt. Also, I think we should probably move to the latest table you have, too. Later that night, Raspberry was in the room she had been given by Shady. She set out with her last of her things and was about to call it a night when there was a knock on the door. Come in, she said, and the door opened, and the 2 unicorn mares walked in, both wearing saddle packs and looking exhausted. Sorry for bothering you. We just got back, and we thought we'd give you a report while it was fresh in our minds, the first said. She had a light sailor blue coat with a mane of ice blue and white that ended in pigtails. She also wore red horn rimmed glasses that were currently smudged. Feeling a little exhausted, so I'm probably going to oversleep in the morning. Lucky you, the other one drawled. I could never sleep in. No matter how much I want to, but I can't be an early riser. This one was turquoise in tone, with a short mating and 2 stones of violet. When he introduced, Raspberry had been instantly reminded of the picture she'd seen of Twilight Sparkle's mother, Twilight Velvet. This later made sense as the unicorn in question, Sunny Flare, was Twilight's cousin on her mother's side. Anyway, we went through the mines, but we found there's no chance that what befell the town in any way was an accident. The spells are pretty much Alicorn grade, or something at that very least would exhaust the senior maids. Maybe an arts maid like you or Twilight because he was a unicorn. Not necessarily. A spellcaster specializing in pyrotherapy would have done this, Sugarcoat pointed out. Yes, but the chances of them working with a glaciologist is rare, given the fatality of their disciplines. Flare carried. Besides, it'd be easier to just burn the building to make it look like a freak thunderstorm. Occasionally, lightning storms do get out of control from Pegasus weather teams, so it's not unheard of. True, Sugarcoat admitted, removing her glasses to wipe them against her coat. So either we're dealing with elemental forces doing this, or quite likely black magic. My bet's on the latter, so much that if you weren't on our side, you'd probably be top candidate, Raz. No offense. None taken, Raspberry sighed. As it is, I had the agency, whatever that is, bothering me on a daily basis until Princess Celestia told him to knock it off. Funny, I heard they were disbanded, Flare said. Nope, Sugarcoat stated. My ex-cold friend used to be part of the agency before he got a new position with the Royal Guard. Apparently, they were just doing some weeding of bad seeds and sending some agents into deep cover. She looked at Raspberry. Wouldn't surprise me if they had a deep cover agent or two in Ponyville, just to keep an eye on Princess Twilight and you. Anything else I need to know about what you found at Rolling Hills? Raspberry asked, eager to change the subject. Nothing that comes to mind at the moment. Eddie said you were going to interview survivors tomorrow. Still on the agenda? Yes, and I'd like to take you both there. Too many folks are worrying about the guard presence, and having mages there might calm every pony down a little. I'd like to get started on the mines tomorrow, Sugarcoat suggested. Besides, Flare's far more social breezy than I am, so she's the better pony to have around for this. Not a problem, Flare insisted. Good. You two get a nice sleep. We'll go over the plans in the morning. Sure thing, Raz. Sugarcoat replied as he headed towards the door. Night. Later, that next day. Thank you for taking the time to meet with me, Vice Mayor Sabstar, Raspberry said to the newcomer as he hoof bumped. She was an exceptionally tall Earth mare, much like the residents of Saudi Arabia. She had a fire orange coat, a pink and white mane, and blue-green eyes. That's an unusual name, if I may say, the Igor commented. Sabstar laughed. Ha 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 ha! You can just call me Sabe, Your Grace, the mayor stated, as my name is the Southern Arabia word for desert rose. You see, my grandfather was from Southern Arabia and fell in love with a local mare during his travels. He never returned home, and my family has had Southern Arabian blood since. As for my name, it's both the word for desert rose and the name of a legendary heroine of Southern Arabia who protected her people from the camel bandits. Sadie then entered from all to his conference table.
So, Sabi, what can we do to make the burn of the Rolling Hills refugees easier?
We'd like to return home as soon as we can, Sabstar told the group. We need to bury the dead in the side of the building. We already took care of that for you, Flare informed the Earth Mare. Infectious diseases are too high of a risk in situations as these. The last thing you want is a hoof-rot outbreak happening. More importantly, your fallen deserve better than to lie around rotting. The guards and I have spent a good part of yesterday using spells to encase them in crystal to prevent further deterioration. We moved the coffins into one of our tents so they could be identified and buried once your folks are ready. Sabstar's eyes began to tear up. Thank you, she sobbed. I couldn't bear to leave my beloved husband behind, but I hadn't one choice. I had to protect our children and the town's ponies. She looked at the table, tears filling her eyes. I feel like another failure. Sadie looked at her. Don't even say that. Your correct thinking saved dozens of lives, and I'm sure Pickaxe could have said you were never a failure. You're a hero to all those ponies that survived. Raspberry produced a kerchief for Saberstar, floating over to her. I am sorry to bring this up, but I need to know. Did you see anything that could have indicated how the attack could have happened? No, and that was the thing, Saber yelped. Fire and ice rained down from the sky as if it were coming from the sun and moon itself. Our town mates, blazing sealed, tried to deflect it all, but there was just too much coming. It punched through her shields and... The mayor looked away and was silent for a few seconds before continuing. Once he was gone, there was nothing to stop the barrage from cutting us down. Pixar started to evacuate the mine, and Mayor Settlespur and I started to round the ponies up and get them out of town. Then Spur was killed, and it was all I could do to make sure I got as many ponies as possible to safety. Saberstar started to brawl, and Flare immediately moved in to embrace her. Thanks for your cooperation, Raspberry told the soul-wounded mayor. I know it couldn't have been easy. She then turned to Flare. We need to get back to Rolling Hills. We still haven't checked the mine, and the answers may lie there. As he headed to the door, Shady looked at the Mulberry Mare, whispering, Don't want to say this out loud, but you know if anything could get them back home soon, Raz? I know she feels, and I'd be just as burned as was us stuck in Rolling Hills. Raspberry looked at the heartbroken mare as Flare let go of the embrace. Start building them homes here in Lonesome Dove, Raspberry advised in hushed tones. The magic in that iceberg is so powerful, it's going to take a decade or two to start melting naturally. Unless Celestia uses the sun directly against it, and even then, there's nothing left. Raspberry looked at Saberstar once more before adding, But I will see that these ponies get justice, Shady. You have my word on it. A quick 30 minutes of galloping later, and the two unicorns arrived at the Split Canyon crevasse that was the western entrance to Rolling Hills. As Raspberry came to a stop, Flare came to a halt a couple of minutes later, sweat-soaked, exhausted, and clearly on the verge of collapse. The other mare all but crashed against her superior, who had to catch her. When did you become an Earth Pony? She exclaimed between breaths. I spent a long time on the run, Flare, Raspberry told her. When that happens, you pretty much end up in the best shape possible. If it wasn't for the fact that I'm the Crown Sergeant Mages for black magic, I probably would have been recruited by either the agency or one of the branches of the military. And while, yes, I tend to be Earth Pony fit, thankfully, I'm not bugged out to Tartarus like bulk biceps. That poor stallion. Walking wall muscles and magical enhancers, I swear. Raz. At the foot of the trail, Indigo Zab waved at her. Next to her was their second command, Ensign Sour Sweet. The Earth Mare had an alternating friendly and abrasive attitude towards every pony. But once she told Raspberry why, she was the sort of pony that didn't want to see her guards pony injured or worse, and if it meant having them more terrifying her than potential enemies, so be it. Hey, you two, Raspberry commented as he approached them. Having a good morning? Indigo Dust stated, We gotta scout back for the perimeter check, hoping to find any indicator of who did this. There's no sign of encampments, which means that the perp had long used distance magic spells, well beyond standard range. Ballistic range spells have almost no use outside of combat, which means that we are dealing with some bad juju here. Sarah, for her part, smiled. The smile on the light gold pony seemingly out of place against her two-tone rose and aquamarine hair and hard indigo eyes. See? Knew Auntie could figure it out. Smile turned to her more natural frown as he grumbled. Took Funky forever, but she figured it out. Indigo bristled at that. Sour, save that shit for the junior troops, okay? Have to keep it formal, Lieutenant. Didn't want me to get rusty, do you? Sour said with a wink. Besides, I recall a certain friend of mine that needed that encouragement once or twice while we're in the academy. Furthermore, I may only be an Earth Pony, but so my knowledge of combat magic may be summed up in the words of Jack and shit. But I knew the moment that I saw it. Remember, I was stationed at Canterlot when the Changelings attacked. You think this is their work? You're kidding, right? Changelings wouldn't kill ponies. It'd be a waste of food for them. No, what we find is duplicated ponies sowing chaos with the refugees, and actual victims cocooned up somewhere in the mind. with Chrysalis draining emotions from them like he was sipping on a margarita on the beach in Acapulco. She looked at the burnt shells and shattered houses that were once buildings, holding the remains of the once bustling town. You know, the whole thing with the Here Back Again when the girls got captured would be even harder to accept with Raspberry Barrel. No, I'll bet my next paycheck this is something else, and I'm not sure I want to know what exactly that is.
Lieutenant!
One of the unicorn troopers raced down the street at top speed, racing towards them. He came to a stop in front of them, rendering a salute.
Captain Diamond Cutter reporting, ma'am. We found something in the mines.
This should be interesting. Isn't that the makeup of the product here not high grade? Flare asked. Indigo nodded. Yeah. Rolling Hills Mine is a gourmet gem supplier for the Dragonlance. They're not good for magical or treasure grades, but for a dragon's diet, they're appealing to itself. Spike loved it when I brought him some gems on snack from the last time I was here. Raspberry added. He has one of the markets in town to make an order for him on occasion now.
Sour looked at the corporal.
Continue, Corporal.
Yes, ma'am. Maid Sugarcoat found something in the main just now. It does not look good. She's requested the presence of the Senior Condre, as well as Archmage's Barrel and Maid's Flare.
Slayer slipped her helmet back on and looked at the others. Time to get some entertainment around here, shall we? Lead the way, Corporal. Several minutes later, the group made it towards the mine entrance at the opposite end of town, nestled where the canyon ended. As the group ended, they saw gems of various types as they sparkled and glittered in the candlelight. Normally they were insane with their own innate light, the sign of magical or precious stone grades, but these were lower, as they merely reflected the soft glare of magical lights. These were the food-grade gems, with too many inclusions to be pure, but for those who consume, much far more important than being found in the crown of a Carolot noble or the end of a mage's staff. How much farther? Flare, still tired from a run, asked.
Just around the bend, ordered one.
The guards boy replied. Sure enough, he was right. Sugarcoat, along with 3 other guards ponies, were looking at the giant pillar of Hittentite that was a circle of multiple layers of floating runes, black and red, spinning and emerging an ear-grating sound as they did. There was something that screamed black magic. This was it. What in Tartarus is that? Raspberry asked. Don't know, Sugarcoat replied, not taking her eyes off the pillar, but it's grown about 3 feet since I got here this morning. She finally turned her away from the object and looked at Raspberry. I take it you have no idea. Raspberry shrugged. Hey, not on my research trips to the Empire. I still find shit from Sombra that boggles the mind. It'll probably drive the average unicorn to drink. She looked at the pillar again and said, whatever it is, it's got more black magic in it than I could possibly put together in a week. This thing has been down here long enough for somebody to put effort into this. I recommend putting a quarantine around the town, Sugarcoat told her. We can transport the dead to Lonesome Dove for burial there, but I don't think it's a safe idea for anybody to be here. Sabi isn't gonna like that, Flare commented, but it's better than having her ponies turned into strange abominations, or whatever this thing was created to do. I already told Shady it's not safe for ponies to come back here, Raspberry told them all, and he just gave me a good reason to make that official. So he turned to Indigo. Have your best flyer present and head over to Fort Mountainside and get me every able pony part the army can spare. If the commanding brigadier present complains, then come along and complain to me personally. You want the army involved in this? Indigo asked. This is usually outside your jurisdiction. You need backup, and we don't have time for pleasantries. You need reinforcements until Shiny can send some. She pointed to the pillar where it seemed to be throbbing. We don't know how long that's been there, or the attack on the town was to protect it, or wake it up. I'm going to do the safe thing and have this place locked down. Please, Indy, make that happen. You heard Lady Sour, Indigo said. Sour nodded to everyone present, then departed to start barking orders as needed. Looking at our maid subordinates, Raspberry said, Ladies, time to get back to Lonesome Dove. We need to get in touch with Carolot immediately.